This is a video on the mama's ball and binder, or more formally, the mother's ball and binder. This is an easy to apply pneumatic anti-shock garment for obstetric hemorrhage. I am Mark Hauswald. I'm a professor of emergency medicine.
I'm Nancy Kerr. I'm an assistant professor of obstetrics and gynecology, and we're both at the University of New Mexico.
Obstetric bleeding comes from the arteries that come off of the aorta. The distal aorta supplies the blood to the pelvis and to the uterus. External aortic compression is a time-tested means of decreasing bleeding from postpartum hemorrhage. That requires pressing very firmly on the abdomen with a fist, open palm, or a knee. That procedure is painful, it's difficult to carry out long-term, and you can't do that while a patient is being moved, or if there's a single operator while that operator is attempting to do other essential obstetric procedures. The mama's ball and binder. The ball puts direct pressure on the abdomen and the distal aorta and the uterus. The binder is wrapped around the patient and the ball firmly, and this also puts pressure circumferentially, which decreases blood flow to the pelvis. That ball is then inflated with a standard bicycle pump. The standard pneumatic anti-shock garment and the alternatives like the non-inflatable anti-shock garments have leg compartments as well. It turns out that these are probably not necessary. We've done a couple studies which indicate that the blood flow is decreased just as much by the abdominal component only, and that no significant amount of blood is auto-transfused from the legs into the upper body anyway. Even with all three compartments, only about 250 cc's of blood are squeezed out of the lower body into the upper body. Basically, this stops bleeding. Now, the nice thing about only using the abdomen is the perineum is completely exposed and completely accessible for other procedures like manual removal of the placenta, like suturing lacerations of the cervix, etc. The critical need is to stop the bleeding, stop it fast, and then you have the time and the ability to do other procedures.
It's not meant, however, to replace other standard treatments for postpartum hemorrhage.
And in fact, you can do everything that you'd ordinarily do. All of the regular drugs can be used with this device on, all of the same procedures. Indications and contraindications. The indication is really serious obstetric hemorrhage. Postpartum hemorrhage is by far the most common, but it's also useful if you have a known ectopic pregnancy, if it's post a miscarriage. All of the kind of usual treatments can be done at the same time. The only real contraindication is you should not use it if the baby has not been delivered yet. The baby or babies have to be out first. It's extremely safe. In the past, with the commercial devices that have legs and abdomens, it basically has a serious complication rate of about 1 in 10,000 uses. Most of those were in critically injured patients and had prolonged application of the device.
So first we'll put the binder under the patient's back by rolling her over and sliding it a little bit. Do that. Let's roll you back and roll you up a little bit and adjust it just a little bit. Okay. Next we need the ball.
The ball is placed above the pubic bone and below the rib cage, ideally with the inflation pin in place and pointing up to get it away from the perineum.
Okay. The cloth is a sturdy cloth, not stretchy, and we want it really tight, tightly wrapped. And this is where, if you do have an assistant, you can maybe get it a little more tight.
Suck your stomach in, please, as much as you can.
Okay. Now we have a bicycle pump. And you just attach the pump. Then you inflate. First couple times may be a little hard until the ball's a little bit inflated. If you have a larger pump, it'll go quicker than with a smaller pump. You can see it's already pushing up and pushing in towards what would be the postpartum enlarged uterus, and then the aorta below. And the patient appears to be getting a little uncomfortable. So you keep pumping usually until you can hear the Velcro kind of pulling off. We're getting a little air
Okay.
leaking out. I would stop.
Good enough.
Yes.
Pull the pin.
Okay, we pull the pin out. The ball's inflated. You can check for a femoral pulse. You will not completely obliterate the pulse unless the patient was shocky to begin with and had a very weak pulse anyway.
When the bleeding stopped and you're done doing your procedures, you can let the air out. You should let it out slowly because you don't want the bleeding to restart. If it does, you can just reinflate a little bit. And also because if this has been on for a while, the body below this point will not have as much blood and have a little bit less oxygen in it, and the patient may go back into shock if you remove all the air suddenly. So you want to do it over a period of
Perhaps 10, 20 minutes. I think it's probably good to let some air out, wait, watch, then let some more air out if everything appears stable.
and once the ball is completely deflated, you can just take the wrap off and you're done.
So to make the garment, you need a sturdy material that isn't stretchy. And ideally, a sewing machine. The material needs to be 1.8 meters in length. The width is then 30 centimeters or 0.3 meters. Just put a little hem around it. Then on one side, you attach the hook part of the hook and loop. It has to be 45 centimeters in length. We use 2-inch or 5 centimeter wide hook and loop. It's placed 5 centimeters from the edge, 5 centimeters from the edge on the lower part, and the distance from the long end is 15 centimeters. Then you flip it over and repeat, only using the loop part of the hook and loop. Same thing, 45 centimeters of material twice, 5 centimeters in width, 5 centimeters away from each edge, and then the end of the strip is 15 centimeters from the long end of the material. And that's it. You just need a soccer size ball. It doesn't have to be regulation, but does need to be sturdy, the inflation pin, and a pump.